Quick heads up, this isn't financial or tax advice. I'm just sharing lessons I learned and am learning. My first real budgeting lesson came the hard way. Not from a spreadsheet, not from a book, from reality. And it came down to one word I didn't want to hear at the time: discipline. Not motivation, not math, not a fancy system. Discipline. Most people don't fail at budgeting because they don't know what to do. They fail because they lie to themselves about how they spend. This is the first video in what I hope becomes a series. Just a regular guy sharing lessons learned the hard way. I'll also be bringing you along as I build this channel and continue navigating my recently monetized channel, Beyond the Riff. I hope to share what I learn on my journey to FU money, also known as financial freedom. The do's and don'ts that can actually help the everyday guy or gal. When my budget finally started working, it wasn't because I found the perfect app or a clever trick. It was because I stopped lying to myself about how I spend money. And that's where this conversation about credit cards really starts. There's a well-known argument made by Dave Ramsey that goes something like this. Credit card companies aren't offering you cashback, miles, or points because they care about your financial future. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. They're doing it because it works for them. And at first glance, that sounds dramatic, maybe even extreme. I mean, come on. You swipe a card, you get points, you pay it off, and boom, free vacation, right? Wrong. Credit card rewards look like a no-brainer. But once you actually pull the curtain back, 3 questions matter a lot more than the marketing slogans. How do rewards stack up against interest? Is there a better way to manage money altogether? And who's really paying for those perks? The answers to those questions change how you see credit cards forever. Let's start with interest versus rewards. Right now, about 4 in 10 Americans who have a credit card carry a balance. That means they're not just using plastic, they're paying for it. The average credit card, APR, recently crossed 20%. That's not a typo. 20%. Now zoom out. Total credit card debt in the US is hovering around $986 billion. When you apply those interest rates across that debt, credit card companies are pulling in over $200 billion a year in interest alone. That's not from rewards. That's from people struggling to keep up. And here's the uncomfortable part. Those rewards programs you love, they're funded by that interest. That 1% cashback sounds generous until you realize the companies are collecting 20 times that from someone else. Credit card rewards aren't a tool, they're a trap. Now, I can already hear the objection, but I pay my balance off every month? Okay, let's talk about that. If you pay off your card every month, it feels responsible. It feels like you've cracked the system. You're building a credit score, managing cash flow, and collecting rewards on money you were going to spend anyway. But those feelings can be misleading. Because paying off a balance doesn't automatically mean you controlled your spending. It just means you cleaned up after it. And there's a difference between being disciplined in the moment and being disciplined at the end of the month. First truth, a credit score isn't your friend. Credit scores feel permanent, like they always existed. But they didn't even show up until 1989. They don't measure wealth. They don't measure responsibility. They measure how reliably you borrow money and pay lenders back. That's it. And despite what we're told, there's very little in life you actually need a credit score for. Buy a house, rent a place, buy a car, get a job. It's all possible without credit. Your worth is not a 3-digit number. Second truth, credit cards are not a cash flow plan. A lot of people use credit cards as a delay button. Swipe now, deal with it later. Then make one big payment at the end of the month and call it responsible. But what actually happens is this. Your spending hides from you. You don't notice how often you grab breakfast on the way to work. You don't feel the small leaks, the subscriptions, the convenience buys, the "it's only $10 moments. And those leaks add up. When you budget with the money you actually have, not borrowed money, everything becomes visible. Every dollar has an assignment. And when money can't hide, habits change. Budgets don't judge you, they reveal you. And real quick, if this is hitting home so far, do me a favor and tap like or subscribe. Not because it helps the algorithm, though it does, but because this channel is about building this stuff together in real time. I'm not selling a course. I'm not pretending to have it all figured out. I'm just sharing what I'm learning as I go, what works, what doesn't, and how I'm trying to build real financial breathing room. If that's something you want more of, stick around. And once I actually saw where my money was going, not where I thought it was going, it forced me to make decisions in real time, not later, not at the end of the month, right then. That's when discipline actually started to form. Third truth, credit cards are terrible in emergencies. A lot of people say, I only use my card for emergencies. But think about that for a second. The worst time to go into debt is after something bad happens. The emergency is stressful enough. Adding months or years of interest payments on top of it is just salt in the wound. Real security isn't a credit limit, it's cash in the bank. An emergency fund lets you solve problems immediately, not slowly with interest attached. Now let's talk about the part nobody wants to think about. Who actually pays for credit card rewards? Credit card companies make money three ways: fees, transaction charges paid by businesses, and interest paid by cardholders. That money funds the ads, the perks, and the free rewards. But here's the truth that changes everything. Part of what pays for your rewards is the interest paid by other people. The 40% of cardholders carrying balances are subsidizing the perks of the 60% who aren't. That might be a family dealing with a medical bill, a single parent barely making rent, someone who had one bad month and never recovered. Those airline miles don't feel quite as shiny when you realize that. Now, here's where I'm going to be honest, because real life is messy. I personally know people who use credit card points successfully. They pay their balance in full every month without exception. They use the points for a yearly vacation and never pay interest. And for them, it works. Why? Because they're disciplined. So the real question isn't, are credit cards good or bad? The real question is, how well do you know yourself? If credit cards lead you to overspend, justify purchases, or float expenses you can't cover, then following Dave's advice is probably the smartest move you can make. Cut them up. But if you truly have the discipline, not the intention, not the plan, but the proven habit, then yes, you might squeeze some value out of the system. Just don't confuse discipline with optimism. Because money doesn't care what you meant to do. It doesn't take a money guru to understand that if your budget is $3,000 a month, you shouldn't spend more than $3,000. It does, unfortunately, take discipline and the willingness to live below your means. And that's what taming the green is all about. Using your money in real time, knowing where every dollar goes, and building security that doesn't rely on interest, points, or borrowed time. The goal isn't to beat the system. The goal is to build a life where the system doesn't control you. If this hit home, stick around. We're just getting started. This is Taming the Green, and we're here to make money make sense.